Many companies come to us saying they're having trouble competing. Well, that's a normal thing when in business. Now, there's something called the Blue Ocean Strategies. In fact, there was a book written called the Blue Ocean Strategies, written in the early 2000s, that you may be interested in reading. And this service that we offer is based on the Blue Ocean Strategies. Now, to explain that just very briefly, the best example that the book talks about is Southwest Airlines and how they got started and how they were able to compete against the other major airlines at the time. Well, they started in the early 70s, and if you can imagine for a second, if this circle here represents all the people in Texas at that time, and I'll just put little X's here of all the people in Texas that needed at some point in time to get from Dallas to San Antonio to Houston. They needed some kind of transportation. So if you can imagine, there were airlines back then, many airlines, that had a piece of that market share, okay? And there were numerous airlines, each trying to get a piece of that market share. Now, if you were Southwest Airlines coming in, a new airline that had very little capital and very little experience in the airline business, it didn't seem like a wise move, but they did it anyway. Why would you enter that market with all these competitors there? Well, they had to figure out a way to compete in a different way than the other airlines were competing. Most of them were competing on what kind of meals the airline provided, what kind of VIP lounges they had, and the hub services and so forth. Well, Southwest looked at it differently and said, well, what about all the people that aren't using some of those carriers, that are outside the circle here, the people that are driving from San Antonio to Dallas to Houston? And that's exactly what they did. They created a strategy that could pick up all the people out here, and it made it so their competitors were irrelevant. Well, that's what the Blue Ocean Strategies is all about. There are techniques in your market to figure out how you can get yourself out into the blue ocean so that your competitors are irrelevant.